Do you want to go on a nostalgia journey? In 3 months' time, I turned 35. And 6 months ago, after 2 really long weeks of work, I sat there thinking, do I be doing what I'm doing now for the next 30, 35 years of life? And my answer was quite simply, no. But as a millennial, when we're adulting, it's not that easy just to make some change, especially when you've got an amazing wife, 2 beautiful children who are aged 1 and 3. What comes with this period of life is crazy, ridiculous childcare costs. The peak of life when it comes to your mortgage, where we're at the most expensive mortgage we'll probably ever have. And just a spiraling cost of living in the UK, where I genuinely don't know how we're all going to keep going in some respects financially, because it's just mental every single year. So making the change at this time is really, really difficult. And I'll be really honest with you, I spent the last 5 years building a very small business. I self-funded it. I've done all the work myself. No one's helped me. And I really just enjoy the clients that we work with. So I'm not ready to or willing to walk away from that. I want to keep doing that. But it doesn't mean that we can't bolt on an adventure. And this is a personal adventure. This is an adventure not with my wife, not with my kids, not in work, an adventure for me. And the reason why I'm choosing nostalgia to do this with is, for me, it's brought out that inner child. For me, we take the best of the 90s and 2000s and put it into today. And if you're watching this and you have children, I want you to think about when you play with your kids. It feels as if you always got like an invisibility cloak around you. Because what happens is that inner child, the 6, 7, 8, 10-year-old you, comes out and you play with your kids as if you were that person. And then when you stop, you go back to adulting, go back to carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, work, all the stuff that we have to do, which comes with life. And for me, unlocking that inner child has been somewhat one of the best things that could have happened. It means that I can become a better father to my kids. It means that I can give them the childhood that I really want to give them. And that doesn't mean that today's bad, by the way. There's some amazing bits of today which are far better than the 90s and 2000s, but I think it's a very small amount, whereas back here, we had so much amazing stuff. So combining all of it together means I can bring up really well-rounded and brilliant human beings. So my name's Ash Goodwin. I'm the creator at My 90s Things, which is probably the reason why you're watching this video. On Instagram, we've got about 600,000 followers as I do this video, 274,000 on TikTok, and on YouTube, where this video is being positioned, we've just passed the 28,000 subscriber mark. And all my content, as you can probably know from following me, has all been storyboard type content where I collate images together and talk about stories and experiences from the 90s and 2000s. My most viral video, which is at 56 million views, was literally called What Was Like to Be a Teen in the 2000s, and it's a storyboard on that. So whilst I create that content, what I haven't done so much is put myself behind the camera. And that's what we're doing today. And that's been part of the change over the last week, which I've made. And the reason why I'm doing that is, number one, I want to go on an adventure. I want to go on a nostalgia adventure. It's just something that I need to do for myself. And number two, it's uncomfortable. I talk for a living, but I'm not in front of a camera for a living, and it's 2 different things. So I'm hoping by doing this, in 6 months' time, you might think, God, he's pretty good now. Whereas when I first start, your first video is always going to be the crappiest. It's always going to be terrible, but that's part of learning. And the last bits around the nostalgia journey is like actually executing on some of the stuff that I've been thinking in my brain, podcast being one of them. I'm working on that as we speak today. Number 2, bringing these reels that I make to life. So the first video that we're going to do is experiencing what it was like to be poor in the 90s and 2000s, which has got over 1 million views on YouTube and counting so far. And I can talk through that one because I shared a room with 2 brothers until I was 16. And whilst I didn't think we were poor, I realized that we were probably like lower to lower middle class. So yeah, I'm going to do that video, bring all the reels that I've got to real life as much as what I can, comparing today to then, and letting you guys decide which era is better. And the last part of my plan is to take £100 and see how much we can turn that into by going to buy 90s and 2000s stuff, memorabilia, and selling it on hopefully for a profit. I've got a big concern there that I just like 90s and 2000s stuff, as you can tell from the background, where I've got the Nintendo 64 and the GoldenEye, and bought a Game Boy recently. That bit I'm going to really struggle with, but I've got to try and fund some of the podcasts somehow, and that can be the only way that I can see how. And the last thing that I'm going to be looking at is friendships. When you're in your mid-30s and you're adulting, and you've got all this stuff going on, which I and you have got going on, it's really, really hard sometimes to look at your friendships. And one thing we said when we were younger was, we're going to be friends forever. And I applaud every single person who's been able to make that happen. I haven't. I've got two really close friends who live 170 miles away where I'm from, which is a place called Cheshire, just outside of Manchester. And I moved down south 8 years ago. Into a little place called Beaconsfield. We've got really great services, you've probably seen that, in South Bucks. And I've got some friends through my wife introducing me to their girlfriends, and you sort of one who's a really good friend. But I've not really found that like brotherhood and the people who've got almost like the similar interests within me. So part of this journey is hopefully unlocking some friendships and relationships along the way, where you can just leave a lasting impact on some people, they can on you. And it's just really lighthearted and having some fun. Because I'll be really honest with you, and I know a lot of people my age feel the same, but are too scared to say it. I felt a bit lonely recently when it comes to life, friends, because you just don't see each other enough. And in my situation, being 170 miles away, that's really understandable. Now, if you want to come on this nostalgia journey with me, please like, subscribe, and give us a comment. All of the real type content will be positioned at my nostalgia things on YouTube or my 90s things on Instagram and TikTok. This account now is going to be for me sharing this journey. So if you only want to see the other content, please stay subscribed here. It'll just help me with my subscribe account. But also go to those to follow those just for those back in the day 90s, 2000s reels. I'll still make them, but I bring them to life here. I hope you enjoyed this vlog. Looking forward to seeing you guys in the next one.